is up? Welcome back to part 2 of our manufacturer's testing. In this video we're going to talk about Group 3 cars and go through all of them. There is a possible 34 Group 3 cars to do, and I've gone over all of them and have ranked them just for you. So the way that I did it was every car is on soft tyres, 0 brake bias, so we can really understand the tyre wear of each car. There is fuel in this one. The thing I will say about fuel is it didn't really change. Over the 5 or 6 laps, the 5 laps and the 6th lap being the out lap, it was only like 4 or 5% from the highest to the lowest percentage used. So it doesn't really make that much of a difference, but I guess over a 10 lap race, you know, that 5% turns into a 10%. So if you do want me to do a video around fuel usage maybe with these cars, put it in the description, or join one of the morning coffee streams and we can chat about it there. So it's the same as the Group 4 cars. I do an out lap, then I do 5 laps, and at the end we check for tyre wear, we check the fastest lap, and we check the fastest slowest lap, so we can sort of compare how much time is lost due to the tyre wear that the car received. With all of those 3 areas, points will be given. Obviously first position will get 34 points, last will get 1 point. The car with the most points at the end wins. Simple. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. The amount of feedback that I got from the first one was fantastic. I think that was the most likes I've had on a upload of a video in 24 hours ever. So freaking fantastic. Keep sharing it around as well. I want these videos to go to as many Gran Turismo players as possible so they can make the right choice for their manufacturer this coming weekend. So thank you, continue to like and share it, and let's try and get this to as many people as possible. Yes, let's do the disclaimers again, just so you don't get mad at me. I'm not the fastest driver, player, racer in the world, so yes, the cars can be driven at a faster rate than what I am doing, but I am consistent, and I'm consistent throughout all of the cars, which makes this kind of a fair experiment. Yes, if you play around with the brake bias or brake balance, whatever you want to call it, it will change the tyre wear, but keeping it at 0 gives us a fair scope over all of the cars and how the cars actually wear their tyres down. So here we go. 34th place is the Honda. Halbstark, I don't know how you drive it, because it was freaking god awful for me. The last lap on the tyres was just undrivable. It was undrivable. I think the lap ended up on like a 2:15. We're going around the Nürburgring GP circuit, by the way. It was just so bad, and the fastest lap wasn't fast either. I don't understand. It was the same with the Group 4 as well. I didn't really understand how to drive it, but it didn't feel good. Super slow, tyre wear was crazy, and we talk about being able to drive some cars when they have tyre wear. The NSX is not a car that you can drive with tyre wear. It sits in dead last, 34th place. In 33rd place, second to last, is the Lamborghini. Were we really expecting it to break records and finish in the top half? No. It's always had problems with tyre wear. Even though recently I've been enjoying racing it in race B because there is no tyre wear, and it's the same with the Audi, is that the Audi is super fast, but the tyre wear makes it very, very difficult to drive. The Lambo didn't really set a fast lap time as well. I knew I could have gone faster, but it didn't set the world on fire, and it finds itself in 33rd place. Really disappointing, because we see that the Group 4 Lamborghini is really, really good. It's just a letdown at the end of the day. 32nd, what a surprise to see the Dodge down the bottom. It was same with the Group 4. It's just a really bad manufacturer. It set quite a fast time to be honest. It set a decent time, top 10 I think it was. But the tyre wear and the ability to drive on the tyre wear made it really, really poor. The understeer when the tyres started to wear was really, really bad. But it does sound good. We'll finish on a positive for the Dodge. You sound great, buddy, but you're not fast. Once again, down the bottom, the Ferrari. We expect to see the Lamborghini and the Ferrari down the bottom because of the tyre wear in Group 3. I just expected a little bit more, to be honest. We see this sort of resurgence with the Group 4 Ferrari right now, and I just hope that they had done something with the Group 3 to make it competitive. Yes, it's fast. I think it was actually one of the faster times. But tyre wear. That's all I'm going to say. Ferrari, 31st. I'm sorry, but you can't do anything with that kind of tyre wear, especially on a pad as well. Soon, don't worry, we'll get away from this sort of negativity, because it's always going to be like that with these cars in the lower levels. The next one, the Ford LM SPEC, whatever it is, the GT40 looking mother lover. I really like how it drives. But somehow it's ended up in 30th. It's not as agile in the corners. It does sound great, well done buddy, but it's just not competitive. We see when some of the races go to Mount Panorama, it's always really strong there. But it is quite difficult to drive. It's not one of these ones that you can pick up and just go. I think we talked about Group 4 cars, you know, there's a couple that you can just get in and go and drive fine. It's not like that in Group 3. You have to spend a little bit of time because there's that extra little bit of power that makes the cars harder to handle. The Ford GT40, kind of disappointing. I was hoping for more, but it's in 30th place. What can you do? Now the Pug, the Peugeot Vision GT, the spaceshiping looking mother. I really like the way that it handles. There's not much craziness to it, but it's just not fast. It's not fast, and it kind of shreds the tires all over. You know, there's a lot of cars here that just won't get picked, or don't get picked anyway. There's 25 manufacturers and we have 34 cars here. So some of the cars just never get a look in, and this is one of them. There's not really any... I think it's fast in a straight line. Racetracks have corners. That's all I'm going to say. Here is possibly the biggest disappointment for me. Really enjoyed racing the Renault around Race B, around Brands Hatch last week. But the tyre wear was disgusting. It shredded the back tyres, and when the back tyres go, it's game over. Front tyres just cause understeer. Back tyres, rear tyres, just the car just starts to slide and you can't stop it. It's insane, which is what the problem is with the Lamborghini, the Honda and the Ferrari. All the time the rear tyres are the ones that go first. And with the Renault it was the same. Fast lap, but the tyres just killed it. The last lap was very, very hard to keep it on the track. Very disappointing. As we saw with the Group 4, the Renault was the top dog. It won. So it's going to be interesting to see in the comparison video tomorrow how that ends up, who's going to end up on top. Moving on to the MERC SLS. It's not the AMG, it's the SLS. It's the one that nobody ever picks. I would say it's very understeery. It doesn't sound as good as the AMG, and that's about it. That's it. It's just more understeery and doesn't sound as good than the AMG. I don't really know why anyone would pick it, to be honest. And that's it. It's just an afterthought, and it sits in 27th. I'm not going to say anything more about it. Go home, SLS. You're drunk. Quite an interesting one now in 26th is the McLaren F1. Obviously, we saw it recently added to the game, more so than all the other cars. We know it's good in a straight line, but it's a very difficult car to drive. It's not easy at all. I don't think the brakes are fantastic, so you have to spend longer in the braking zones. It doesn't turn very well, but it is fast in a straight line. Like I've said before though, racetracks have corners, and you've got to have a car that can do everything, that can do both basically. And the McLaren is just all out raw power, and it doesn't have that finesse to go around the corners like some other cars. It sits in 26th. The VW GTI, I remember it being used a lot for the Tokyo tracks a couple of months ago, but it really it shredded the tires. It really did, all over the front and the back. They just disappeared. I think it was all right on fuel. It's one of those cars that you can short shift to go faster. I revved the tits off of all of these cars to make sure we knew equally what the fuel usage was. But this is obviously a car that you can do a little bit of fuel saving in if you do that short shifting, which obviously would save the tires as well. So if you drive this car the way it's supposed to be driven, I think it would end up further up the order. But it sits in 25th. Next up is the Toyota Supra. A lot of people use this car in daily races. I'm not really sure why. This was the first time that I've ever driven the Supra, I think. But it was solid. It was really solid. I didn't think the tyre wear was too aggressive. But it didn't light the world on fire. It's a very mid-pack car here. I think it's very fast when you have no tyre wear, which is why it does so well in race B, where there is no tyre wear. But in this situation, and when we're thinking about FIAs and where it has possibly a lot of tyre wear, I just don't think it can, for myself, be competitive. Obviously all of these are driven by me and in my style, and you might have a completely different style, probably smoother and faster. But for me, the Toyota Supra just didn't give me the feels. It didn't do enough for me. It didn't do enough. Next up, the Audi. We all know about the tyre wear. It's very similar to the Lamborghini and the Ferrari in that regards. But we know that it's super freaking fast. I think it finished top 5, maybe even higher, maybe second place in the actual fastest lap. But the tyre wear just kills it. And, you know, like the Ferrari, like the Lamborghini, like the Honda, that's all I've got to say. Also, it's an absolute bish to drive. It's one of the hardest to control. It's so twitchy. You have to throw it in and slide through the corners if you want to be fast. And for any beginners or that are just picking up the game, the Audi, stay clear from the Audi, please. Next up is the M3, the BMW. One of these cars that no one ever picks. Why? Because it understeers. It's like a proper touring car. I think as well the chase cam is different. I went into this car and it's like lower and more behind the car. Obviously I drive in chase cam. It was really weird, but regardless, the way that it drove, it understeered a lot. And then when the tyre wear got worse and worse, it just understeered. It felt so damn rigid. Its fastest lap time wasn't very fast, but it was consistent with the tyre wear. I don't think the delta from slowest lap to fastest lap was that big. I think you can handle the tyre wear pretty well, but it just means that car that's how it drives. It's just quite understeery. There you go, mid-pack, the BMW M3 is feeling 22. Here's one that might surprise a few of you. The Porsche, usually insanely OP, especially at Nürburgring. A lot of people are saying that they've nerfed the Porsche, and this might be an indication as to, yeah, they've done something to it. Didn't really do very well on the fastest lap, and the tyre wear was pretty pretty dramatic as well. Mixing those two factors in, including the, it was quite consistent on the tyre wear, and it's quite easy to drive as well. So, you know, we've said about if you're picking up the game, whether to go, and you're looking for a easy car to drive first, you want to go Porsche or you want to go Mercedes, because they're quite easy to drive. And the Porsche does handle pretty smooth on worn tyres. But it sits 21st. That's it. Unlucky Porsche. Bit of a disappointment. Next up, the Ford Mustang. Its counterpart in the Group 4 did not do well, and it's sitting just under halfway in this one. Really fast lap. I think it might have finished 5th in fastest lap, but the tyres just went off and it was super hard to control. I think lap 5 and 6 were just, I was basically just babysitting the car around. I couldn't push at all. You know, some cars you can push just that little bit on the worn tyres, but I just felt the Ford Mustang, I couldn't do it at all. Ford Mustang, 20th position. Next up is the Chevrolet, the Corvette. You know, arguably one of the best sounding cars in the game, but it just didn't burst into flame. It didn't erupt with passion as the engine sounds would suggest. It was very average on fastest lap. It stayed pretty consistent on the tyre wear, so it's quite easy to drive with tyre wear. Tyre wear was just consistent. I think we're going to say that quite a bit over the next few cars because we're just mid-pack, but that's it. It's another one. I like the MERC and I like the Porsche. Very consistent, very easy to drive, not too much drama. It is quite wide. I think that's a problem that most of these Group 3 cars do have, is that they're very wide. But I mean, I like the Corvette, and I would have liked to see it a little bit higher, but it's in 19th place. Next up is the Alpha. Obviously, we saw the Alpha in Group 4 doing fantastic. It finished 2nd. Spoiler alert. But this one, the tyre wear is completely different. It's terrible on the tyre wear. And obviously, it's slow in a straight line. Really good in the corners, we will give it that. But it does shred the tyres a little bit. It's just not fast in a straight line. So you're always going to be... And some of these Group 3 cars are really fast in a straight line. The Alpha coming up against the McLaren F1. So the McLaren would get away on the straights, and then the Alpha would get up in the corners, but then the McLaren would just go away again. So in a racing situation, there's just an Alpha wouldn't really come out on top. It sits in 18th, a little bit of a disappointment to its Group 4 counterpart. Top half now, and look who's snuck in. The Jag. The Jag. I think it set one of the fastest times, which is once again fantastic. I said this about the Group 4 car. We know it's got power. But then, guess what? The tyre wear comes back in, and it just sort of drifts out into nothing. It wasn't too bad, you know, it's sitting in 17th, but I think the points that it gained from the fastest lap makes it look good because the tyre wear was so bad, so it's sort of met in the middle. Not a car to be driven over long distances, but it could be used. I'm going to give it a couple of goes around race B this week. Obviously, I'm going to be biased because it's British. It's the Jag. But it made it into top half, and I'm quite impressed that it made it there. So well done, Jag. This is the part that we start sounding upbeat. You know, the first half is like, well, yeah, I mean, it's here. I don't know what to say. It's let us all down. But now we get into the cars that are like, oh, you're here. I don't think you should be here, but you are. I like this next one. The Hyundai. Now, a lot of people have been saying that the Hyundai has had a buff, an increase, and that it's better from the last update. Obviously, we saw the Hyundai finish 3rd in the Group 4, but it's in 16th here because I think it didn't have a great fastest lap. High wear is... it's not great. It's slightly below average, I think. But the car does handle okay on the worn tyres. But it's the fastest lap, I think, that let it down. And even though it's in top half, I'm not surprised to see it there, even if it didn't get the buff. I would expect it to be up here because it's just a solid car. Top half, HYUNDAI. Good job, buddy. Good job. Up next, the NISSAN. The Swales. However you say it, the understeery machine is just a freaking box. It's like driving a tank. It just feels so solid. It feels like if an Alfa Romeo came and ran at you, they would just bounce off and fly 1,000 miles away. That's how it feels to drive it as well. Not too bad. It's like average on tyre wear. The lap time was pretty decent, I think. It was obviously top half. And the way that it handled on those worn tyres, it just made it more understeery, to be honest. It does have that little snap of oversteer that you have to watch out for when you're in the low revs coming out of corners. But if you drive it, if you turn in early and you get the right line, you can really be successful with it. But it takes a lot of forward thinking and planning. And when you're in that racing situation, I think that time to make those decisions is very hard with a very understeery car like the Nissan. But it sits in 15th. Next up is the big brother of old reliable, the Mitsubishi. I really enjoyed driving it. It wasn't crazy. Exactly the same as the Group 4. You sense that it's got power. It's good in the corners. Not great on the straights. But you sense that there's something about it. It's a wide boy. Someone said it looks like they just put a load of cardboard boxes or cereal boxes on the edge of the cars to make it look flary. But I really enjoyed driving it. I'm not surprised to see it in the top 15. I kind of thought it might be higher. But there you go. Nice to drive. And that's probably the biggest compliment to it. It's a nice drive. Some of these cars are an absolute arse to drive. The Mitsubishi, really nice. Iffy on the tyre wear, but I think if you play with the brake bias, I think you'll be able to figure it out a little bit more. 14th place. Next up, a surprise to me, but a not surprise to a couple of people who were in the open lobby yesterday, is the CITROEN. The CITROEN set a very, very fast time, but unlike its Group 4 counterpart, it's not as good on the tyre wear. Tyres kind of went off, and it was the rear tyres that were going off, so it makes it that much harder to handle. And the front wheels, the wear on them just wasn't, it didn't give you enough to go, okay, I'm going to put a load of brake bias on the front to stop the rears wearing, because that would just destroy the front. So it's a bit of a dodgy car. Also, it's the size of the Death Star. It's so freaking big. It's just the bigger version of the Group 4 car, which is freaking huge. CITROEN, make smaller cars, would you? Jesus Christ. Anyway, in 12th, the BMW Z4. Not a car that anyone really uses. The reason that it's up so high in 12th position is that it's really good on tyre wear. I think it was like pretty much near the top for its fastest, slowest lap. Its fastest lap didn't set anyone on fire, didn't set the world on fire, but its tyre wear and its slowest lap was very, very good, and that's the reason why it's up here. So a good handling car. It sounds really nice as well, and it's nice to drive. So if you do want to go for something nice to drive, I think the BMW Z4 is quite nice. Just outside the top 10 in 11th is the RCZ, the Peugeot. It's very similar to the Nissan, I think, in the way that it drives. It feels very planted. And there's a hint of oversteer every so often, but not a lot. And it feels like it wants to understeer 95% of the time. So once again, I think you have to think quite a bit about how you're driving it into the corners. And it's very big as well, actually. I think you look past how big it is because it's so low. But it's a big car. Kind of surprised that it's up this high. No one really uses it, so it's when you see it up just outside the top 10, it kind of takes you by surprise, I guess. But there you go, the Pug, just outside the top 10. Who'd have thought? Okay, here we go. top 10. And in 10th place is the 2017 Lexus. Now, obviously, there is a 2016 version of this car, and I think they handle slightly differently. I think the 2017 has more power, and I think the 2016 is more of a handling car, which might explain why the 2017 is lower down when we're trying to test out tyre wear on the cars. But the Group 3 Lexus, I've always liked them. They have that little bit of danger, but with the feeling of stability at the same time. It's really quite strange. If you get them wrong, if you get them riled, they'll snap on you and you'll be around. If you dip a toe on the grass, you're going round. Sometimes you can hold it on the grass with some cars. More often than not, with the Lexus, you're dipping that rear on the grass and you're just going to go round. I really like it. I also really like the 2016 one, which we'll come on to, but I'm not surprised seeing it as high as it is. It's just a shame that the Group 4 Lexus is so bad on tyre wear. Next up is the Subaru. Quick shout out to Mr. Hizal, TRL Lightning, who popped into the stream yesterday. Obviously, I think he drives the Subaru, and he also has a YouTube channel. So if you actually want to watch one of the fastest Gran Turismo Sport drivers, go check it out. Go search it. I'll try and find a link, and I'll put the link in the description. How about that for a shout out? Huh? Big shout out. Anyway, back to the Subaru. Very similar to the Mitsubishi. I really like how it drove. I don't know how to explain this one because it was just really solid. I don't know if it's as fast in a straight line as some of the other cars, but tyre wear was fine. It wasn't too crazy, and it was quick. It was a quick car around the track. I can see why he chose it as his manufacturer. But it's sitting in 9th place, top 10, and I'm not really surprised by it. Next up is the thick Brit. It's the Aston. I didn't expect to see it up here at all. I expected to see it around the Jaguar, but it looks like the Jaguar and the Aston have done a flip. It was sort of the other way around in the Group 4, but now the Aston is in the top 10, and I think it's based on the lap time. It had a super fast lap time. Unfortunately, once again, I think that it's met at a happy medium because of the tyre wear, which is unfortunate for the Aston once again. I think it's just because it's just got such a fat ass. But there we go, it's in the top 10. I'm glad that it's in there. One British boy down, one to go. And it is the McLaren 650S. This is very surprising to me. I thought it was going to be really bad on tyre wear and just be down with the Lamborghini and stuff like that, but it's not. It wasn't the fastest around. I don't think it had a terribly fast lap, but the tyre wear was pretty damn good, and the way that you could drive it on the tyre wear was really good as well. And I think that's why it's up so high, is because the ability to drive it on the worn tyres. I actually drove it this morning. I did 31 of them last night, and I did 3 this morning, which is the videos that you're seeing up in the top left there. But I think that it was just so consistent. It was like just adding on half a second to a second a lap. Sometimes they went up. In other cars, it's like 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds, half a second. It was all over, but it was very consistent, and I was very surprised by that. So in 7th place, the McLaren 650S, maybe one of the biggest surprises, to me at least, in the whole competition. Next up in 6th is another reliable car, the Mercedes AMG. Super fast, just like its counterpart in the Group 4. Really fast lap time. Sounds fantastic. I think it sounds better than the Corvette, to be honest. And I just love it because not only does it sound good accelerating, it sounds good when you change down gears as well. Really nice to handle. Like we've said before, the Mercedes, they're just solid cars to handle, and I think for a new player, Mercedes should be the manufacturer you go to. Tyre wear did sort of go off towards the end, but you could just drive it pretty much regularly when the tyre wear hit. Just outside the top 5, but the AMG, 6th place. So here we go, top 5. Are any of the cars going to surprise you, I wonder? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. There were some really cool comments on the last video, but I'd love to know your thoughts about your manufacturer. You know, we have some die-hard people, I'm going to be this manufacturer forever, and you chat all over it, basically. I would love to have some conversations with people about their manufacturers and try and see from their point of view, for example. Here we go then. Top 5. In 5th is the Toyota FT1. Now, something that I recall about this car is that to be really fast, I think you have to short shift the car, which then saves fuel. So if I had really thought about fuel and put it into the point system as well, it would be even higher, because I think you'd be able to save fuel that way. I was expecting a lot of drama from this car. I've seen other people drive it, and because the gears are much shorter than some of the other cars, there's always that possibility of when you're coming out of a corner and you're changing gear while accelerating, that the car can spin and go off. But there wasn't really that drama. I think I drove it pretty consistently and wasn't trying to break records. But it's finished in, well, joint with the AMG. They both finished on 73 points, but I think the Toyota had a faster lap time. Really solid as well. It's got solid feel to it, and it's fast in a straight line as well. So it's kind of a handling and a power car at the same time. Correct me if I'm wrong. Top 5, well done. 4th position is the Yeetle. Yeetle, 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 Yeetle. Man, there's a lot of chanting going on in this one, isn't there? So here we go, the Beetle. What can we say about the Beetle? Very, very good on tyres. Really shocked me when I was like looking at it and tallying it all up this morning. I was like, whoa, that's actually really high. The fastest lap time wasn't insane, but I think it can be. It's very solid. It does feel like it wants to understeer, but then if you just slam on the accelerator, it will flip and it will just go oversteer. It's a little bit it's a bipolar Beetle is what it is. It can go both ways. It can go aggressively understeer, or it can go aggressively oversteer. You've got to be careful with it. If you drive it very cautiously, it can be very nice, but as soon as you try to put any real force into the corners, it can get a little bit aggro. I really enjoyed driving it. It was one of the first cars that I got kind of fast with a couple of months ago, and I'm glad to see it up in 4th place. Next up is the M6. Once again, like the Hyundai, people have been saying that the M6 has received a little bit of a buff. So it's sitting in 3rd place with 78 points. It doesn't feel fast. I don't know what it is about the M6. Maybe because it's the size of a house. It doesn't feel fast. It does look really nice. I will say that it looks fantastic, and it does sound really good as well. But I think it goes under the radar, and it's like, I'm just gonna mosey on around here and I'm gonna do my thing, and I'm gonna be fast about it, but I'm not gonna make much noise about it. Kind of shocked to see it in 3rd. Its tyres were very, very good, and its consistency on the tyres was even better. It was really, really good. 3rd place, BMW M6. Who'd have thought? 2 more cars to go. The next one has 81 points, and the winner finished on 83 points. So in 2nd place is the 2016 Lexus. This is surprising to me, because I didn't even realize that it was this good. It's very good on tyre wear, and I think it set the fastest lap out of all the cars. So the fastest out of all of the cars, and it's better than the 2017 version on tyres because it's a handling car. I think a lot of people miss the 2016 Lexus because, oh, this one's 2017, and oh, it's got more power, so I'm just going to go with that one. Food for thought. The Lexus 2016 sits in 2nd place. But here we go, the winner. Did you guess it? The Atenza. The Mazda Atenza. I didn't expect it to win. I expected it to be top 5, top 10 kind of area. Really fast. Really, I would say easy to drive. It's one of those cars that's easy to drive. Very like its Group 4 counterpart. I think that Mazda could be one a lot of people go to. It's definitely one I'm considering. The tyre wear wasn't amazing, but it was top 10 or top 5, and it was just consistent, and it's got 83 points, and it's won. There you go. I don't really know what to say about the Mazda because I've never really driven it. It's bloody fast though, and don't be surprised to see more people driving it. So there you go. That is your top 34 of the Group 3 racing cars. What do you think? Let me know your thoughts and your feelings and your emotions in the comments. We can have a little discussion about it. Tomorrow's video is going to be really interesting. We're going to take the points from the Group 4 and we're going to take the points from the Group 3, put them together and have an overall winner. Who's going to win? We'll find out tomorrow. Thank you for all the support on the previous video. I really hope that you enjoyed this one as well, and I'm really looking forward to creating and making the one for tomorrow. Thank you for watching, liking and subscribing, and we'll see you in the next one.